This summer could genuinely be up there for like one of the most entertaining summers we've had in terms of like transfer sagas. Like we've had the Ekitike with Newcastle and Liverpool, the Isak situation, which is still ongoing, the Vissa situation, the Eze situation, the Gyökeres situation, the Sesko. There is so much. Wow. But Arsenal, fair enough. It must be good to, steal a signing. But to steal a signing from your biggest rivals and Spurs. Wow. I'm even wearing the kit today to celebrate because this is a big signing. Eberechi Eze is now an Arsenal player. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about the whole saga, what Eze could offer to Arsenal. Is he the final missing piece? The piece that takes him to the very top, the piece that gets him over the line. So firstly, I want to kind of just talk about the way Spurs went about this transfer, because I think about 2 weeks ago we got the big news about James Maddison tearing his ACL, and Spurs were in the market for another kind of creative type player. That's when they kind of moved in for Eze. Because Arsenal's interest kind of like died down after Madueke. They didn't really want to sign any other attackers, and Spurs looked at that and they're like, okay, you guys do that. We want Eze. We want to sign him. Eze looks at that. He's like, Spurs, that's a step up from Palace. That is a big step up from Palace. And he wants to elevate his career. Obviously, he wants to move on to a bigger club. He's 27 years old, and he has every right to do so. And he respects Palace's contract. He honors it, still plays for them, Community Shield, etc. Basically, everything indicated that Eze was going to join Spurs. But they just couldn't get over the line for like a couple days. I think for like 5 days. We didn't hear about the whole thing at all. News is coming out today that Spurs never really agreed on a fee. That's the only thing they were trying to like discuss, like whether it was the add-ons, who would be included in the deal. I think Spurs are trying to they're being a little bit complacent with the whole deal. Because little did they know, just around the corner, Arsenal were there peaking, looking at Eze. This morning, we found out that Kai Havertz is injured and that Arsenal were in the market again for another attacker. Now, when I saw that Havertz was injured, which is hours before the whole Eze thing went down again, in the back of my head, I'm like, imagine they steal Eze from Spurs. In the back of my head, I didn't actually think it was going to happen. This is still crazy to me. But in the back of my head, I'm like, if they move in for Eze, this would be cinema. And lo and behold, 3 hours later, Ornstein drops the bomba of Eze agreeing a deal to sign for Arsenal, in principle, for £60 million. Are you not entertained? This is insane. This is crazy. I think this genuinely just teaches a lesson to all clubs out there. If you want a player, get it done as fast as you can, especially a player like Eze. With his quality, what he offers, especially to like the role that Spurs want him to play in, get it done quick. Because if you don't, something like this can just get snatched like that. Spurs today got taught a lesson. I can't lie. They got taught a lesson in transfer business because the pull that Arsenal have. Mikel Arteta looked at Havertz's injury. He probably went running up to the board's office. He's like, get me Eze now. Get me Eze right now. Because Eze was linked with Arsenal for practically 80% of the summer. I think Arsenal were just unsure on what winger to get, what kind of left-sided player they wanted to get, or what type of attacker they wanted to get. And they were deliberating that for a while. They ended up going with Madueke for whatever reason. And obviously they signed Gyökeres, but they never really, kind of got Eze over the line or that agreement, even though I think for many parts of the summer, it was indicating that he was looking into joining Arsenal. Now, if we actually get into what Eze could offer to Arsenal, I think that's primarily the thing that people are very excited about. If we're going to talk about Arsenal's transfer business as a whole, I said it in my Premier League predictions video, that the reason that they're not going to finish first, in my opinion, is yes, they've had a good window, but they haven't signed what literally fans around the world have been screaming for them to sign. And that is a player who can take the ball and do something, who can take the ball and create, who can take the ball and just kind of make something out of nothing. And that's what Eze can offer, because that's what Arsenal have been missing for the last 2 seasons or so. With this signing, there's no more reliance on Bukayo Saka. There's no more reliance on Odegaard to create stuff. If those two are having a bad game, they can look at Eze now. Fans can look at Eze. And that is such a privilege to have in today's game, because you'd often see that if your best players don't perform, you can't really look at anyone else. But with Eze, it offers a different lens. It offers something that Arsenal just simply didn't have before. And when you take a look at, what Eze can offer as a player, and when you compare what Eze can do to what, the likes of Martinelli or Trossard, all these guys can do. With Martinelli and Trossard, you often see that they're very predictable in the way they play. They kind of do the same thing. They take on their defender, but they end up going too wide. They lose the ball. They don't really... I feel like the defender can kind of guess what they're trying to do. With Eze, it's different, because he's someone who can take the ball and literally confuse defenders. He can take the ball and, again, like I said, be an X factor, kind of create something out of nothing, and he offers something new because of how good of a player he is. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I watch Crystal Palace week in, week out. I mean, I think in the last season or so, they've been brilliant. They've been really good under Oliver Glasner. Every time I've seen Eze, especially against the big teams like City, United, Arsenal as well, this guy's always doing something. He's causing trouble. He's in the game. You can't miss him. And you saw it against Liverpool too. You saw it against City in the FA Cup final. He makes a name for himself on the pitch by what he does, with his talent, with his skill, with what he can produce. And that's something that, a lot of Arsenal players don't have at the current moment. They don't have that final bite, the cutting edge. That's something that Eze does offer, in my opinion. And I think now that, when you take a look at Arsenal's lineup, obviously you have Zubimendi, you have Rice, you have Odegaard. That's a great midfield. Then you look at their attack, you look at Saka, you look at Gyökeres, and on the left, now you look at Eze. That just sounds a lot better than Martinelli and Trossard, with all due respect, in my opinion. That is a dangerous attack when you look at chance creation. Because for the longest time, for the last 2 or 3 seasons or so, Arsenal have been great, but the majority of their chances really do come through from Bukayo Saka or Martin Odegaard. And you saw when those two are injured or out of, they're not in form like last season, what did Arsenal do? They were so flat-footed in attack. They were stale. They didn't really do much. They weren't really a threat. Now, when teams play against Arsenal, they're like, okay, yeah, we have to make sure to keep tabs on Bukayo Saka. Yeah, you got Gyökeres. Now they have to look at Eze too. That's crazy. That is a really good attack. And something I really like about this transfer too is that he's Prem-proven. And I think that's also what Arsenal need. They need to sign someone who's ruthless in the Prem, someone who's Prem-proven, someone who can do damage to Premier League clubs. Because for the longest time, Arsenal were in the market for left wingers, right? They were in the market for Rodrigo, they were in the market for Leao, they were in the market for all these guys. But then they looked at Eze, and they think, okay, you're Prem-proven, you can do some damage in the squad. And that's exactly what he can offer too. Because he comes in, and he plays alongside the likes of Saka, plays alongside the likes of Gyökeres, the likes of Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard, and he plays along that left side too. This guy can do damage. This guy can do serious damage. Now I think Mikel Arteta can look at his attack, and now he has some serious options. Now he has some serious depth options. If players aren't performing, you hit the bench. We have Eze now. We have Madueke. We have all these guys that can come on. It's also worth mentioning how Eze technically isn't an out-and-out winger. He isn't. He's more of like a 10 or a left-sided 10. To be honest, I seriously think Arsenal should kind of pivot away from having like 2 out-and-out wingers on the side. I think if Eze obviously plays on the left, but he can kind of like have that free rowing position where he could kind of drift in and maybe have like Lewis Skelly or Calafiori, instead of them coming inside, they go and overlap him like how Ben White does to Saka. I seriously think Arsenal could benefit with that so much in terms of his output, his chance creation, because that's where he is naturally on the pitch. He's on that kind of left pocket, in and around like the 10, next to the striker. That's where he likes to operate. That's where he does the most damage. And we saw that for Palace for the last 2 or 3 seasons. So this is a move that makes sense. And in my opinion, this is something that should have been done even before Havertz's injury. This is something that should have been done, alongside Gyökeres, alongside Madueke. Because Arsenal simply have to go into this new season with a brand new attack, with brand new faces, brand new skill sets, brand new, things to offer. Because I can't lie, this whole thing of their predictableness in attack, it has to stop. I think Martinelli could be, a great squad player. He's someone that can come off the bench when legs are tired. He has that pace about him. He's someone that can, if Arsenal are like sitting tight in a low block, he's someone that can just offer pace on a counter-attack. I think he could be really useful there. Again, fresh legs. Same with Trossard too. But Eze has to start. And Eze will start over them too. Because this guy, what he can offer, those two respectively, they can't do. And obviously, yes, there's pros and cons to each player. But I think Eze needs Arsenal and Arsenal needs him. Simply for him to kind of explode in that environment. Because this is a damn good player. This is a really, really good player. Arsenal fans, you must be very, very, very excited. And I'm kind of excited too. I can't wait to see what he can offer to Arsenal. I think this title race is now just completely blown up, in my opinion. I think I kind of had Arsenal sitting second. This could be that missing piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. If you guys did enjoy the video, leave a like. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know what you think of Eze. Is he, what Arsenal need? Let me know in the comments below. And subscribe, like, share, do whatever, notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.